Hey y'all, welcome to What Could Possibly Go Wrong, the podcast where two neurodivergent friends speak about the crossroads of deep anxieties, imagination, and humor. I'm here with my friend Lyndzy. Lyndzy, make some noise for yourself.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
And maybe a quick introduction.
Hi, my name is Lyndzy. I'm a teacher. I dabble in the martial arts and foreign languages. I also enjoy the shiny, glittery, and the macabre, and talking to my friend, Ari. Ari?
Hey, I'm Ariel. I'm a van lifer, travel medical worker, psychological enthusiast, and true crime connoisseur. And that's not to convince anybody that I have a minutia of intelligence about anything, but that 99% of what comes out of my mouth is for the pure joy of listening to my own voice. All right, well, let's settle into our armchairs of unpracticed and tattered pieces of our psychological degrees and psychological problems. Let's examine what could possibly go wrong. Lyndzy, what is our topic today?
Our topic today is becoming famous. Over the
Oh,
last few years, it's becoming more and more frequent that when I'm asking a classroom of kids, what are you guys going to do when you get out of here? What's your life plan? It's always becoming famous lately for some reason. And that's either by becoming a professional athlete or an actor or commonly a professional gamer or a YouTuber.
YouTuber?
YouTuber. Yeah. Okay. So like, we're doing this out of enjoyment and a hobby. We're not like, you know, at least at this point for sure, we're not, you know, we just do this.
Do this and eat babies.
Okay, back to life again. So more and more it's becoming common that kids are saying that their plan is to become famous in some way, shape, or form. And there are some obvious setbacks that people should have when deciding to become famous, but there's some lesser well-known setbacks. So the first thing I want to let you know about is something I found entertaining in my research, and that's that there is a WikiHow on how to handle fame.
Brilliant.
Apparently, it's such a need and such a problem that now, as people become rising stars, they should be checking out WikiHow. So that was my first little delight. I'd also
That
like
is
to
delightful.
mention,
I need a WikiHow on how to life. Not how to be
yes,
famous, just how to life.
WikiHow on how to get an episode started the first try. That's today. That's today. Okay. So WikiHow on to stop getting off topic. Now, the first thing is the mental health implications, anxiety, depression. Body dysmorphia is very common with famous people. And some of the names that popped up on body dysmorphia really surprised me. Jamila Jamil, she was Tahani on The Good Place. She has body dysmorphia. She's so pretty. Like, I don't understand, but I mean, I guess that's where body dysmorphia comes from, is it's things that you're seeing that either aren't really there or exaggerated or an expression of anxiety. And then another name that came up was Billie Eilish. And I think that she's been very public about it. Like, I knew about that previous to my research for this episode. And again, a beautiful person who's experiencing this kind of trouble. And then the last one really surprised me because I don't think it's a secret that this person is like a, physically an icon. Megan Fox has body dysmorphia. Over what? I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
again, it's a problem from within, but I mean, man, if Megan Fox could have body dysmorphia, I think that is empowering for other people to hear that, because they could look at her and realize, wait a minute, why? And it's kind of like the same thing for you. Wait a minute, why? This is a manifestation of another problem and not actually what I'm seeing in the mirror.
Right.
However, becoming famous draws attention to your body and other people judge you, and pictures of you end up out there that, I mean, I'm sure you have some pictures too, but I definitely have pictures of me out there that I'm like, wow, like, just, why did you pick that? There was 5 family pictures that were taken. Why did we pick this one? Like, and it just lives with you and
Forever.
And to be a celebrity who might have paparazzi following you, and you're walking out of a Starbucks and like your scrubs just trying to get some coffee in your system early in the morning. I mean, that could be traumatic later. So it definitely shines a spotlight on the insecurities that you have if you become famous. So maybe that's something to work on for people who plan to become famous.
Sure.
The next one I'm going to come to is another one that I knew about before this podcast, identity crisis. Kurt Cobain,
Okay.
it couldn't deal with fame, and it wasn't a secret, and everything that he felt about was wrong with society and wrong with the way people work and wanting to stay out of the mainstream. He was just doing music because he loved music, and they happened to fall into fame. And then as the mainstream stole his stuff and ran with it, people that he didn't want to be associated with started associating themselves with him. And it was like people were listening to his music going, yeah, this is great, and not really listening to the lyrics and what the lesson was supposed to be from the lyrics, and directly contradicting what was going on. And as you know, Kurt is no longer with us. A lot of people speculate that before his suicide note became a suicide note, the bunny ears make the camera go, that it was actually a note saying that he was going to step out of the limelight and quit Nirvana. And that perhaps somebody who had him murdered might have written in the rest of the note to make it sound like a suicide note, because the beginning of it totally could have been quitting a band, not stepping out of life. So
I was actually, speaking of that certain someone, I was really shocked at how many bands had written a song about how awful she is.
that could be a lifetime achievement award, I think.
It really could be. Chances are, if you've heard a song in the, let's say, late 90s, I think it's early 2000s, really, when most of the songs came out. But if you heard an alternative song that was about somebody who was heinous, it was probably about her.
Mm-hmm. And kids today don't know. They don't know the conspiracy. It
Uh,
gets me.
ooh.
They don't know. And I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, Kurt Cobain killed himself. I'm like, oh, he didn't. And they're like, what?
And I'm also going to put in one more fun fact.
Go for it.
Out of every 8 homicides that happen, 6 of them are done by your significant other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, not only that, but I that's like a solid psych fact. But literally, was his name El Duce? This dude came by. Hopefully, I didn't say something really bad in Spanish there. This dude came forward and straight up said, she offered me this money to kill her husband before this. Like, and then all of a sudden, he mysteriously, something happened to him. I can't even remember. Yeah. So we could have a whole episode on that. What could possibly go wrong? And the answer is Courtney Love.
Yes. So what else could possibly go wrong during the experiencing of like you said, we've had some body dysmorphia and psychological images of ourselves, our identity. Those things can definitely have some issues that go on with becoming famous, especially quickly, right?
Right.
What else did you discover?
So some sources say bad behavior, like it inspires bad behavior, but I agree with the sources that I read that says it amplifies any bad behaviors that you previously had. Our good friend Justin Bieber from, that Canada just like so quickly said, no, he's yours now. Keep him here. We'll pay child support. Take him. Justin Bieber had classmates writing about him online and what he was like before he was famous. One of the things that got to me as a teacher is he poured coffee on a teacher and gave them the bird and ended up getting suspended for it. I mean, I've had my share of kids that have behavioral issues, but I've never had a kid pour coffee on me and do that. Like that's serious. That's an issue. Anytime a student actually assaults a teacher, that's usually someone who might not have it all in the future if they don't get themselves under control.
Yeah.
So he had a history of bad behavior in school, and then obviously becoming famous. What happened? He got into drugs. He got into risky behaviors, and we have the Justin Bieber that we have today, who was
a very broken young man. Very broken.
Sad. Very sad.
Yes. But as much as we would like to say that it's a sad story for him, I think it's important to point out, like you did, he hurt a lot of people on the way to his sadness.
Yes, exactly.
So that doesn't justify being sad for him and being sad for the people he hurt can coexist.
Yes, both, please.
Both.
I'll take C.
Yeah.
So the other thing that could happen is relationship changes. People become famous and then their marriages end. And the one that I found that surprised me was Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford, I did know he had the life before the fame. I mean, he was a carpenter and he was picked up and then Star Wars and Han Solo and which we're talking about next week. But what we didn't know is he was married to his college sweetheart for 15 years. And then they ended up getting divorced like right during Star Wars. And he was having an affair with Carrie Fisher, which nobody found out until she came out with her memoir. She kind of kept that close for a long time. And she said that she regretted it, but that like she didn't view him as a womanizer or anything like that, that he just, that's the place that he was, and that the marriage was pretty much over before that happened. But I'm sure that didn't help the marriage at all.
And I'm not going to blame Carrie Fisher so much because she was a very young woman and
Yes, she
probably did
was.
not understand the power dynamics in a relationship.
So another one, and this one is one of my favorites. Well, not the thing is my favorite, but the actor is one of my favorites, and I really empathize with him. Loneliness. And as we all know from the meme, Lonely Keanu, he's said before in interviews in 2019 that he was a lonely guy. He had people taken from him that he planned to spend the rest of his life with. He had a rough childhood and he just kind of self isolates, and fame can do that to you too. You could be surrounded by people and be lonely. He is an example of that. Yeah, however, during the pandemic, I have to say I loved all of the shorts he came out with. And I think that might have been a way of connecting with the world when he had to be physically isolated and not just alone and in public. That brings me to another one, which is fake friends. Rupert Grint talked about not being sure which of his friends were really his friends anymore, or which people were just hanging out with him because now he's famous and it's a card that they can play. And that's got to be a really rough aspect too, to not know. I mean, in the world today, without being famous, it's hard to know who are your people sometimes. I know you're my people, but if I meet someone new, it takes me a long time to figure out, are they my people or is this somebody who is just here to mess around with things?
So like that's one of like the really big hallmarks of depression too, right? Is feeling of loneliness and then self-isolation, because you kind of feel like you're a burden to other people. And also the negative self-talk will never help. And that again goes in line with that body dysmorphia thing too, right? This is terrible. Why would anyone want to become famous?
It really seems like it causes more problems than solutions. You would think, I mean, one of the best solutions is the financial part, right?
Sure.
I mean, you make people who are famous make money, right?
Yeah.
No, it also can bring out the worst in your spending habits. Like my next friend that we're going to bring up, Nicolas Cage, uh, who managed to make a ridiculous amount of money. He made over $150 million between like 4 or 5 movies. And as his income increased, so did his spending habits. Let me give you some examples of some things that Nicolas Cage bought before I tell you how,
I can't even. I love this man so much. He is
I,
a disaster and I love it.
can I tell you that I loved him more after I saw what he spent?
Give it to
Oh
me.
man, I might have done that. Like, but yeah, so he spent all of his money. He tried to say it was a financial advisor, but you can't help but look at some of the things he purchased. He had 15 residences at the peak of the money. He bought the La Laurie house in New Orleans, like one of the most haunted places in the world. Yeah, yep. One of the most haunted places in the world. He had not one castle, but 2 castles in Europe.
Well,
Okay.
they're like $1 a piece in Europe,
That's true. That's maybe like $3 total because you're driving another freaking castle. You got to go around it. So he got a deserted island in the Bahamas.
Genius.
Yeah, dinosaur skulls. He outbid Leonardo DiCaprio for a dinosaur skull.
I love this man. I
Yeah,
love
I
that
know.
story.
Like what was the other one? It was albino cobras. I it just yeah. So this is what he spent his money on, and he ended up broke. Uh,
And that's
can,
why he appears in every single movie on Earth.
it is. I think what we need to do is we need to get him and we need to get Samuel L. Jackson and we need to put them in a movie. Why? Because Nicolas Cage needs it and Samuel L. Jackson will do anything. So, but we got to flip the script. Samuel L. Jackson's going to be the good guy that has to have everything he says bleeped out, and Nicolas Cage is going to be the bad guy. And that's what we're going to do.
And it's so funny because I had the same thought, but I was like, we need Nicolas Cage and Sean Bean in the same movie. But it turns out they actually were in a movie together, and I vaguely remember watching it. And Sean Bean dies within the first 5 minutes
Oh.
because that's what he does.
Like Drew Barrymore in Scream. Okay, back. All right, sorry, ADHD. Yeah. So number 7, and this is the creepiest one that comes to mind, privacy. Did you ever hear about Sandra Bullock's stalker?
Didn't she make a movie called The Net? No, sorry.
No, this guy.
Go ahead.
This guy in real life. Like,
okay.
His name was Joshua James Cobret. I
3 names.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Anytime there's 3 names, you know there's a problem right away. This dude like was arrested in her kitchen at 5 o'clock in the morning with her home. And then the dude years later got into a standoff with police who had a warrant to search their house for stuff pertaining to the case of him breaking into her house, and he killed himself. Just some random guy that she never met, and this was his reaction to her fame. That's like spooky.
That's
I mean, I feel terrible for her. How do you ever feel secure again after that?
You don't.
No. So I don't know that. I think that one.
You asked Nicolas Cage to rent his Bahamas desert island and you live there.
Yes. Maybe that's why he purchased that island. I wonder what kind of people stalk Nicolas Cage.
You know they do.
You know they do. It's got to be like that really desperate goth girl, like that. I'm serious. Desperate, okay? That's a different thing. That's a different thing, okay? God.
Okay, go ahead.
Love you.
Love you too, babe.
Oh. All right, and I come to my last reason.
Yeah.
And this one pertains to being a YouTuber and a vlogger and all of those things. Jeffree Star. Do you know what happened at Jeffree's? First of all, let me clarify why I know who Jeffree Star is. My sister is very up on like makeup tips and health tips and stuff like that. And occasionally she's tried to give me some assistance with my neurodivergent like refusal for doing my makeup properly, aside from like slathering like foundation on and then putting on eyeliner. And so she would show me his videos and be like, see, look, this is how you contour and this and that. I'm like, what's contouring? Because this is like right before contouring was a thing.
Right.
And so I knew who it was. And I knew he disappeared. I remember hearing about a makeup line and then he disappeared. Are you ready for why?
Sure.
Turns out, before he was famous, he had a website. And on this website was nothing but hate. Like swastikas and racism, and he had videos of him self-harming, and it was just like absolutely atrocious. So this came out. Somebody had shots of this website that was no longer up anymore, and everybody was like freaking out. And he sent out an apology that didn't go over very well, because after he sent out the apology, all these people came forward with abuse allegations, and like that, he was gone. Profits from his makeup items are going to restitution for the people that he abused.
Yeah, and he had a brief comeback here for like 10 seconds, but that's because people like hot tea, and he's always been really good at making fun of other people and their hot tea.
Absolutely. Because, you know, if you point at somebody else's hot tea, no one knows how hot your tea is.
That's right.
There's that.
Ooh.
Oh, so these are all the things. What could possibly go wrong? Becoming famous. So, what could possibly go right?
Right. That's what my question was going to be.
You become famous after you exercise some shadow work and figure out what you need to work on within yourself, and you're okay with yourself when you become famous. That could be okay. And then once you become famous, giving back to the world, I think, would be a pretty good start. There's a lot of celebrities who do a lot of great things for people. Like Dave Grohl. Heart out to Dave Grohl. Good job, man. Like, he's so wholesome. He's out there like making barbecue for people who need food. And then he's like doing that drum off with that little girl during the pandemic. And there's people who do great things with their fame.
I think giving to community is a huge one of feeling connected to humanity. Even if you can't give like a rich person, let's say you suffer from depression and you're feeling really disconnected. I think even just stepping out into a coffee shop and just being amongst humanity does a lot of good, you know?
I agree. I mean, if you are famous, chances are you have some kind of work out there, whether that be videos or music, or you are an athlete or something. And just having a conversation with somebody who your work means something to could change everything for them. And that doesn't cost anything. But that's something good that could only come from fame, really. Grant, well, not only from fame. Every once in a while, there's a stranger that says something really cool to me. But if it was like somebody that I admire their work, I would just flat out. If Trent Reznor ever said to me I did a good job on something, I don't know what I would do with myself. That would be like the peak of my life, because I've admired Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails ever since I was very young, and his music really speaks to me on a personal level, and as well as the things that he does in his life that I've read about and keep up on the news with him. So, a celebrity speaking to somebody who is a fan can change their life, or at very minimum help them get through something very hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is a way that a celebrity can give without financial means.
Absolutely. Money isn't everything. In fact, money causes most of the problems for Nicolas Cage.
And this whole time that I've been listening to you talk about this, I keep hearing Joe Walsh with his song in my head about like, he bought a Maserati and he got a speeding ticket and now he has a driver and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's all I keep hearing. And God bless Joe Walsh. Sorry.
No,
We
it's
don't
all
have to
good.
keep that. This is already going to be an editing fiasco for you.
It's all good. It's all good.
Okay, so what could possibly go right? Joe Walsh, Nicolas Cage, and Trent Reznor giving Lyndzy a compliment. I think keeping in touch with humanity as best as you can while you become famous, and like you said, the shadow work seems. I think that's a valuable skill for everyone to engage with. Really, and not just by yourself, right? I think the key point to most of these things is as much as you feel like you should be by yourself when you do these things, or it is just for you, the fame, you really do need to keep connected to both professionals who know what they're doing if you're going to engage in shadow work, and also keep connected to your community so that people can like, check in on you and make sure that you're okay.
Agreed.
Well, thanks for joining us for this episode of What Could Possibly Go Wrong. I hope you enjoyed the endless rabbit trails on this episode and hopeful hilarity of when intrusive thoughts meet reality. Stay safe and remember to ask for help and stay connected. Bye.
Bye.